It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Kyle Benedict as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives in Yavapai County. And now here's today's Countywide.
Welcome to Countywide. I'm Paul David. Great to have you in studio with us today. Vic Morfin is back from the Coconino National Forest. He's their Fuels Management Officer. Welcome back.
Thank you.
It's our yearly check-in with Vic and find out how things are going on the Coconino National Forest. Just so you know, the following show this week on the Thursday will be the 28th of April. We'll have Pete Gordon from Prescott National Forest in to talk about how conditions are there on the Prescott. We've had some wildfires. It's like we had our well, it wasn't even a great weekend of weather. It was very windy and kind of cool out, but things have sparked up.
You bet. We've been dry for a little bit, for a good 2-3 weeks. We're in high fire danger down here in the Verde Valley, and then we're in moderate up on top around Flagstaff. And so, yeah, it's definitely dry out there. The fires we've seen have got up off the ground a little bit. When we've had windy days especially, we've had trouble. They've been more challenging than we'd think for this time of year.
What's your reaction to these two? Because we see this every spring. Where, I mean, yesterday we were having 30, 40, 50 mile an hour winds. Some areas were seeing 60 plus wind gusts. I hear wildfires out there and I'm thinking, oh no, this is a horrible situation.
You bet. Windy days are a scary scenario for us, obviously. It's the wild card, the wind. We can track the fuel moistures and the fire danger, and we know when we're getting, towards the end of June, it's getting real dry. We know we're there in extreme fire danger. But that wind's a wild card. You can get the wind when we're just in high fire danger, for instance, and the fire's going to move. It's gonna spot. It's going to be tough to pick up. And so when we get these wind events come through, we're just kind of crossing our fingers and hoping we don't get that start.
Hoping the public will just be really diligent and careful.
Right.
But we've had a few now. It was like this last weekend. It's wildfire season underway?
Definitely.
Is wildfire season ever off? A little bit in the winter maybe, huh?
Yeah, we tend to get that 4 to 6 month break in the winter nowadays. Fire season has definitely extended. There was a long time for decades where it was literally 2-3 months in the summer, May, June. But boy, that sure stretched out. We've had fires on Thanksgiving. Recently, we've had fires in February,
right,
et cetera. So it's definitely expanded. And right now it's definitely dry. We're getting these pulses of moisture, but as you know, it's not adding up to much. Very little moisture associated with these recent storms. So
were you disappointed that our strong El Nino kind of got blocked by that high pressure that came over the state in the month of February? The whole month of February, it seemed like.
Yep.
It sat over the top of the state and pushed everything up into Utah and Colorado.
Yeah, as you said earlier, boy, December we were looking at it and thinking, boy, they got it right. Strong El Nino. We're going to get dumped on, and it was looking really good. But yeah, very disappointing El Nino. And snowpack, we just didn't get it. Got that early snowpack, which is great, but boy, these last few months have been pretty dismal.
And what does that mean for the Coconino National Forest? Because that snowpack is, and we've talked about this in years past, where it's those large logs and stuff. I love talking to you guys because I learned so much, but it's those what do we call those 1 hour fuels?
1,000-hour fuels.
1,000-hour fuels.
Yep.
Okay. Those are the big logs. They did not have snowpack on them. They didn't soak up all that water, so they're sitting out there dry as a bone.
Right. Up in the high country, in the timbered forests, what's really important to us is snowpack. And as you get that snowpack, you get a real slow release of moisture all spring and into summer. And when you get that good snowpack, you tend to have a more moderate fire season because those big logs hold a lot of moisture, and it takes a while for that moisture to evaporate out. So when we get these years where we may get a lot pulses of moisture or early snow, that's great. But when we don't get the snow in February, March like we typically do, it's just leads to higher fire dangers and drought type conditions in our fuels.
So let's talk about the fires we've had so far. You guys have had 2 over the last few days.
Right. And we've actually had a lot more when you throw in the abandoned campfires and some potential arson starts. But problematic fires that wanted to grow on us, we've had a couple. Right now we have one, the buckhorn, that's kind of in canyon country, a little bit difficult to get to. I think we'll probably pick it up at less than 10 acres right around there.
That's the one at West Clear Creek, east of Flagstaff, or east of Camp Verde.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that's the one. Got eyes on it last night, got some folks in there, but we had to pull out as it got dark due to safety. And folks hiked in this morning, probably getting most of the folks in there right now. And like I said, we should get it picked up and lined this afternoon, and then we're hoping that moisture comes in that they're forecasting, and we'll just keep checking on it and getting in there, making sure we can put it to bed.
Now, you had one over the weekend as well. Cause?
The bear fire.
The bear fire.
To be honest, I wasn't working this weekend, and I believe it was human cause. We know that much, but I'm not sure if it was a suspicious start. I hadn't heard anything like that.
And then you mentioned arson fires. We did have a few in Oak Creek Canyon. Are those the ones you're referring to?
Yes, and more.
Okay.
We had a handful in Oak Creek. I want to say we had 6 in Oak Creek.
Right, and then we just recently.
And then the ones up on Mount Eldon, another half dozen or so fires. Under investigation, but obviously a concern, in addition to the abandoned campfires, having potential arsonists out there lighting fires.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but we've seen this over the last several years now, where it's right around this time of year, all of a sudden these little fires start popping up, where you've got one here, and then 100 yards away or so, there's another one, and there's another one. It seems to happen each year.
We have, at least since in the last 3 or 4 years for sure. We've had those fires out at Fisher Point and in and around Flagstaff. Now this individual seems to have a pattern in Oak Creek, and then there's a pattern up in the Mount Eldon area. I'm not sure what it's about, but it's definitely been these last few years we've had things like this going on.
Okay, all right, and then you also mentioned, and it's kind of a dirty word with us, I think, is the abandoned campfire. We talk about it and talk about it and talk about it, but they're still happening out there.
Certainly.
How's that been this year for you guys so far?
They're way up. 2015 was about double the abandoned campfires we'd seen in the past, and this year to date we're about on that track. For whatever reason, we're just getting a lot of them.
Now, when you say double, what does that mean? How many are we talking about?
I believe last year it was close to 230 ballpark. Usually we would see about a little over 100 in a year, abandoned campfires. I know in the month of April, we've had 43 fires, and none of them were lightning or natural causes. Most of them were abandoned campfires. So definitely still a problem.
So if my campfire's sitting out there and it's abandoned, and you walk up on it and it's smoldering within the ring, does that constitute? It's constituting an abandoned campfire.
It does.
Does it constitute as that part of that 43 fires?
It does. It counts in those 43 fires. That situation you just described is what we call a non-stat fire, so we don't count that as a wildfire.
Okay.
If it's still in the ring, et cetera. But we do count those starts. So that's included in the 43, yep.
How many acres are we talking about in the Coconino National Forest?
I want to say 1.8 million.
Okay. And how many people do we have patrolling that 1.8 million acres of forest?
Closer to a dozen.
Okay.
Prevention patrol folks. And we have other range technicians, biotechnicians, other firefighters, but we only have about a dozen people, maybe a dozen and 20-ish, that actually their job is to run around the forest and talk to folks about campfires and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Now, if I'm out camping and I notice that the folks down the way from me took off and I could still see smoke coming out of their campfire pit, what should I be doing about that?
Well, a couple things. One, you could certainly call dispatch and report what you saw, and then that way we can get someone out there to put it out. And then if you were inclined, you could always go out there with 5 gallons of water or so and mix and stir and put it out. But we have folks that do that. That's their job. They run around the forest all weekend long finding abandoned campfires.
I would go put it out myself, but
Right.
I would call you and let you know.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah.
You bet.
Okay.
Because we need to know about that and pass that information along. And
Is it working? Is our education campaign working? People getting it?
I'd like to think so. We put a lot of time and effort into it, but when you see the abandoned campfires doubling, it makes you wonder sometimes what's going on there.
Maybe when we come back, we'll take our first break. When we come back, maybe some theories as to why we're seeing that, and then this false sense of security. Vic Morfin with the Coconino National Forest. He's their Forest Fuels Management Officer. He's in studio today. This is Countywide. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
We've known for years that this is the #1 cause of lung cancer, smoking. That's why the Surgeon General issued this warning. But do you know the #1 cause of lung cancer for non-smokers? It's in this room. You can't see it or smell it. It's radon. Radon is an invisible radioactive gas that seeps inside your home from underground. It can build up to dangerous levels without notice. Now the Surgeon General has issued another lung cancer warning. And whether you smoke or not, breathing radon can cause lung cancer. That's why you need to have your home tested. Protect your family. Call 1-800-SOS-RADON. Heed the warning. Have your home tested, because radon problems can be fixed.
Oh, look, a redhead. Staring contest. You still got it. I know. Come alive with the forest. The dad was cute.
They were looking right at us.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
Hey, look, it's those guys. Are you good to drive?
I'm fine.
How many did you have?
I should be fine.
You should be.
Go and step out of the vehicle for me.
See ya, buddy. Good luck.
So turns out, buzz driving and drunk driving, they're the same thing, and it costs around $10,000. So not worth it.
Welcome back to Countywide. Great to have you along. Vic Morford in studio today from the Coconino National Forest. We're just kind of getting an update on the wildfire season, how conditions are in the Coconino National Forest. We just found out that abandoned campfires last year was twice as many as we normally have.
Yep.
That had to be kind of shocking.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I remember that because I want to start doing those stories again where on Friday we have Debbie McNeely from Prescott National Forest and then Brady up there at the Coconino National Forest. Let us know, or on Mondays I should say, how many abandoned campfires were found over the weekend. And then on Friday we can, last weekend, Vic found 30 some odd abandoned campfires.
A lot.
And last year there was a lot, I remember, on the Coconino National Forest. It was a staggering number. You talk to Debbie over at the Prescott National Forest, she'd say 3 or 4, and we'd talk to, Brady, and he'd send us 20 to 30.
Sure.
And I was like, wow, that's a huge difference there. But I think more people go to the Coconino National Forest as well.
Yeah.
It seems busy.
You bet. High use area. I can think a couple weeks back, I can't tell you which weekend it was, but we had a dozen just on the 535 road, which is above Oak Creek slide fire area. Just on that one road, we had a dozen abandoned campfires.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Now, is that the same road? Last year we had a group of folks that, after the slide fire, that slide fire, some of the folks that live further on down, I want to say Forest Highlands, is that right?
Right.
They were, I think they were volunteering to go out there and kind of educate the public as they were coming in and out of that area. Is that the road where we've actually designated campsites and cleared areas out and made fire rings and stuff?
We have. They're dispersed camping areas.
Okay, right. It's dispersed.
And that happens to be the road that we caught the slide fire on. That was the road that we fired out.
Right, okay, I know exactly where you're at. Okay.
Yep. And it's always been a real popular area. It seems that folks go down to Sedona, and as they come out of Oak Creek, they look for places to camp, and boy, that's the first road off to the left.
That's where that's where they were doing a lot of the logging. That
Yes.
road has got a brand new gate. It's got brand new gravel. At least it did a couple of years ago.
That's why we chose it to catch the slide fire. It's a good, really solid, good road, and then we had a lot of fuels treatments on either side of it. So that's why we stood our ground there.
So do you know? Are we going to have this sort of set up this year as well? Now that we've found a dozen of them out there. I know last year I think we found a few, but then maybe not so many after these folks were kind of standing at the entranceway greeting folks as they were coming in. Because you're right, they drive up to the canyon, it's the first road they see, they go back in the forest, and boom, they're camping.
Right. I think any of the work that we do with folks, trying to just make them aware of potential problems, I think that goes a long ways. But I still struggle with why are we seeing so many more abandoned campfires than we've seen in the past? Because we put a lot of effort.
Why do you think?
I think one reason could be maybe not going into fire restrictions. If you look at the year before or the slide fire year, extremely dry. Everyone knows it's extremely dry. No campfires, no smoking, and I think folks have that heightened state of awareness. And then maybe a wetter year like last year, we never got to that level. We never got to extreme fire danger. So we didn't go into fire restrictions. And it could be that there's a correlation there. I really don't know. I struggle with why. I don't know why we get in those abandoned campfires.
I'm kind of hopeful that now that we've had 3 or 4, I mean, right now we're doing, Prescott National Forest has a fire, 141 acres.
Right.
You guys have had a couple that have been in the news over the last couple of days. We've got the 10-acre one east of Camp Verde, quite a ways east of Camp Verde. And then the other one I was talking about yesterday, Bear Fire.
Bear Fire.
That one there, and then Kaibab National Forest had one too. And Kaibab National Forest, it's kind of unusual for them to have the wildfires, but they had one as well over the weekend. So there's 4 that we're talking about, and I know there's been other ones in different parts of the state. So I'm kind of hopeful that for me, it seems like there's certain years where we get, like the slide fire year, we'll take the slide fire year, where we get this huge wildfire and it makes news across the country almost. And then it seems like that light clicks on, it's like, oh wow, it's pretty dangerous out there. We need to be careful. I'm kind of hoping we can have some of these smaller ones and that'll have that same effect. Because I feel like there's a false sense of security out there with these little storms that we have moving through.
Right.
Do you see that?
I do. I think when it's cooler, it's wetter, it's greener. Folks do, just like not going into restrictions, they look around them and they see conditions that are kind of moderate, and they maybe don't think about how important it is to put your campfire completely out, or maybe starting it towards dark versus starting it in the middle of the day when the wind's blowing and it's hot outside. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think when folks look around them and it's just not so dry, or they knew it rained yesterday or it looks like it rained today, that they do get a little more complacent.
Well, you're a fuel specialist. You tell me, the 30, 40 mile an hour winds we're getting right now, pretty much on a regular basis, what does that do out in the forest? Okay, so we got a little bit of snow and a little bit of rain. None of it really stuck.
Right.
It wasn't enough. It's spring, so it's too warm for it. But how long will it take for that to just be gone? Yeah,
not long at all. Wind, more so than anything, is a big drying factor. So we get those 20, 30 mile an hour winds you're describing. Maybe we got rain yesterday, but literally 3, 4 days, 2 days, it can be dried out. And as we get closer to June, summer solstice, that's even quicker. It can rain on Friday and Saturday, Sunday, it's ready to burn and ready to burn actively.
That's amazing.
So wind is very important in the drying of fuels.
And that's typical. That is our life. This is what the world we live in right here.
Right.
Yeah, okay. So what do we do?
I think there's 2 big things that we can do. One is up front, the job I have, fuels management. If we're out thinning and burning and trying to change that forest, restore that forest to a more fire resilient forest, that's primary, I think. Then the second thing we do is those prevention efforts. Try to reduce those human-caused starts. Because as you know, hundreds of people go into the weekend or thousands of people every weekend, and it only takes 2 or 3 that are careless with fire to really have some problems there. Mm-hmm. And so I think those are our 2 big efforts. We try to restore the forest, and then we try to prevent unwanted fires.
And we just don't have the funding to have somebody at every single forest road.
Oh, right.
Checking the public as they come in and leave.
Right.
Make sure you put your campfire out, and as they leave, did you put your campfire out? Yeah, okay, so we have to take another break. Vic Morfin with the Coconino National Forest in studio today. This is Countywide. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Me and my boy Matt had it good. He had catnip that was off the hook. But one day, he brings a girl home, and she's allergic to cats. Every sneeze was a nail in my coffin. Now I'm in a shelter. It's decent, but they don't even have Wi-Fi.
I'm Jenny Garth, and as a mother of 3, I know kids worry about a lot of things. Getting enough food to eat shouldn't be one of them. But here in America, that is a real worry for 1 in 5 children. Even though we are one of the most food-rich countries in the world, 15 million children don't know where their next meal is coming from. This is unacceptable, and something the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks is working to solve. Instead of accepting that our country lets billions of pounds of surplus food go to waste every year, Feeding America has made it their mission to help families in need by rescuing this food. Through food pantries and meal programs, the nationwide network of food banks provides more than 3 billion meals, serving virtually every community in the United States, including yours. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank by visiting feedingamerica.org. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're Feeding America.
Welcome back to Countywide. We've got just a couple minutes left in the program. Vic Morfin, a fuel specialist for the Coconino National Forest, in studio today. One thing real quick, we've got wildfires burning, but I've also got a press release from Coconino National Forest that there could be some prescribed burning going as well. How are we doing with that this year?
We're doing great. We had a dismal fall. It was too wet. We got a little bit of burning done in the winter because it was so warm and dry and whatnot. But now we're trying to get that window before fire season gets too dry, too hot. And with these pulses of moisture we've been getting, we've had many windows, right before the moisture comes. So we've been doing it, intend to keep doing it. As long as we keep getting these pulses of moisture, we're going to stay after it and keep trying to get more burned and restore those forests as we can.
Now these burns are taking place. I noticed there's Clint's Well mentioned, Mountain Air, Kachina Village. These are all areas that have communities nearby. Are we just creating what would be for the forest defensible space?
We are. We're trying to get fire back into that ecosystem so that when we get the unwanted wildfires, they're not so active, they're easier to catch, not as threatening.
Do you foresee burning this week then?
This coming week, I think, would be the soonest because, as you know, they're forecasting moisture Sunday. If we get that moisture, that's going to put us back at least till Wednesday, Thursday. So ideally, we'd be in the burn mode Wednesday, Thursday.
Okay. Tomorrow. Or next week?
I'm talking next week.
Okay, because I got a release that said it was going to be going on this week.
And we were, and then it snowed rain yesterday.
Okay, so it's a no-go for the rest of the week this week. Then,
right.
Okay.
We're out, and we think we're out till probably about a week from now.
Yeah, I think the forecast is calling for moisture Wednesday night through Monday right now.
Right.
Which is great.
It is.
It's a lifesaver, right?
Yes. In fact, it'd be great if we got dumped on and get those snowpacks back up, but not probable. It's probably going to be more light moisture.
But it helps you guys, so you guys can still get out there and do that burning. Did you guys manage to get a lot of pile burning done over the winter without the snowpack and stuff?
We did, and mainly because we took advantage of that snow that came in December. So we were out burning in December, January, but then, boy, that whole February, March, we didn't get much pile burning done. But it was so dry that we were able to get a little bit of prescribed fire under burning done. So all in all, we've had a really successful winter, spring.
Do what you can when you can.
Take advantage of the opportunities.
All right, real quick, we got about 30 seconds. Trash. Garbage in the forest. Pack it in, pack it out. It's a problem every year.
It is.
Are you guys seeing a lot of that right now going on?
We do every weekend. That 535 road I was telling you about earlier, boy, that's diaper alley. It gets pretty disgusting every Monday morning. It's disappointing to walk out there.
Well, we need somebody to be patrolling that road for sure then.
You bet.
Yeah, that's just revenue right there, right? All those tickets you could be writing now. All right. Vic, it was great seeing you. Thank you so much for coming in. If we get, as conditions change, maybe we can get you back in for another update, say, I don't know, midsummer or something, or earlier if need be.
You bet.
All right. That's today's Countywide. Thank you so much for watching and listening. We will talk to you again next time.